Billy Elliot is one of my favourite films, which is such a classic for me. Pretty much all of my favourite films are from the wholesome genre, except for I, Tonya.
Suck my dick.
I'm sure since this film came out 21 years ago that quite a few people have seen it, but for anyone who hasn't, in 1984, the miners' strike is raging. Billy Elliot is a young boy living in a small County Durham town who discovers he has talent for ballet, much to the chagrin. What does that mean? I got this from IMBD. I don't know. Wait.
Chagrin.
Much to the chagrin of his widowed father, Jackie, leaving him torn between his dreams and the only life he's ever known. Thank you, Tom Daly from IMBD. There is so much I can talk about. The bangers in the soundtrack, the phenomenal acting from all characters, the dancing. But after rewatching it, I recently noticed how the film plays with the ideas of entrapment and freedom. The film opens with, personally, one of my favourite scenes of all time, a youthful Billy bouncing on his bed to the song Cosmic Dancer. I was dancing when I was out. From the beginning, we know that this is organically Billy. This is him in his element, as cliche as it sounds. He is dancing. You see his eyes on that first close-up filled with this freedom and shine. Essentially, we see him flying. Then, soon following this moment of freedom and passion, we see Billy being called into the boxing ring, much to his dismay, as his father watches intensely from the side. I love the choice of boxing to represent the toxic culture of masculinity in Billy's world. The physical layout of a boxing ring is a small square with barriers, and inside this box is violence and physical strength. Metaphorically, I see this as representing the box of masculinity that Billy is trapped in, with intense pressure from his family and 1980s working class society.
Christ, Billy Elliot! You're a disgrace to them clubs, your father, and the traditions of this box and all!
However, even in this scene, Billy is pushing the edges of the boundary, foreboding his desire to escape from the entrapment and pressure. Now, compare the physical layout of a boxing ring to a dance stage, where Billy really wants to be. The layout is open. You can exit and enter. It is wide and large. It is freedom. One of my favourite scenes from the film is when the dance teacher tells Billy's family that Billy missed the audition to the National Ballet School.
For the Royal Ballet School.
The Royal Ballet.
Billy watches as the two sides of his world conflict and argue. He calls out, but nobody seems to listen or care. It acts as a physical representation of the freedom and entrapment in his head arguing, like the prison guard and the prisoner fighting with each other. The camera cuts to Billy dancing, his movements representing the entrapment he feels stuck between these two worlds. He claws the walls, pushing them, even grabbing his own face and pulling it to either side. You can feel his frustration and claustrophobia. He beats down the door only to find himself trapped in another box of sorts, reinforcing the frustration of trying to escape these gender roles. The climax of the film is when Billy dances for his dad. This scene takes place in the hall where Billy originally did boxing and started dancing. Physically, he moves from the boxing ring towards his father. But metaphorically, he is showing his father that he is leaving the box of masculinity he has been trapped in his whole life. Slowly but surely, throughout the film, Billy's family begin to understand him, and their own judgment starts to fade away. I particularly love the give a kid a chance scene.
He's only 11 for fuck's sake! He's a kid! He's just a fucking little kid!
The choice to use the ungendered word of kid instead of boy effectively portrays that Billy is authentically a kid, a child. Sure, biologically a boy, but he's just a kid that wants to dance. Society's ideas of boys and girls is what's stopping him from doing what he loves, what he is good at. And this scene is the first time his father begins to acknowledge that. There are many other subplots of entrapment and freedom within the film, namely Billy's father, Jackie, who is trapped in his own clouded judgment, views and opinions. Through Billy's journey of freedom, alongside we see his father's journey of freedom from his own thoughts and judgment. For me, the most obvious moment of freedom Billy's father experiences is when Billy gets accepted into the National Ballet School.
I got in.
His father runs to spread the good news and sprints up the same hill that Billy danced up earlier in the film. The shot is framed in the same way, with the ocean spread out behind the hill, a notion of freedom. The physical layout of a steep hill acts as a symbol of adversity. We watch as Billy's father finally overcomes the adversity of his own conflicting thoughts, reaching the top of the hill and simultaneously following Billy's journey, understanding him. He's learning from Billy and has, in turn, achieved a sense of freedom also. The final scene of the film shows the freedom that Billy has achieved through dance, through bravery and through acceptance from his family. It always brings me to tears when he runs out for Swan Lake and jumps in the air, flying. Then the film fades back to the opening scene. As the credits run, we see Billy as a child again, dancing on his bed. It reminds the viewer that Billy always wanted to fly. He always wanted freedom. And finally, he got it.
Wear a tall hat like the druid in the old days. Wear a tall hat and a tattooed guy.